What's up, guys? So, for this quick RCM evolving topic, I want to talk about something that has been all over the news lately that is affecting an estimated 22 million Americans. And that is the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which is scheduled to end at the end of this month, December 31st, 2025, unless Congress acts to either extend the subsidies or put something in place that will help the American people deal with the high costs that is known to be associated with ACA related plans. Now, in order for us to understand where we are at currently, it's very important to understand how we got here. The ACA was considered a landmark piece of legislation back in 2010 by then President Barack Obama. The ACA is also referred to as the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. But back in 2010, it was best known as a contentious piece of legislation. And I know that 2010 folks in government are looking at 2026 like that was not contentious. We were practically singing Kumbaya back then when we landed this bill. But the bill did have to go through many iterations before it finally came into law. And with those iterations and changes meant that there were certain things that did not make this an attractive bill even back in 2010. Many individuals had to pay thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket deductibles before their insurance company would make any payments towards their services. And that didn't include the high premiums that they had to pay. So if you were someone who did not make that much money, if you didn't qualify for Medicaid, but if you didn't get insurance through an employer or it was too expensive, the ACA was also considered too expensive for many Americans. Individuals who were higher earners and didn't necessarily get coverage through their employer, or maybe they had their own business, were freelancing, they took advantage of this opportunity to become insured. Needless to say, in 2026, well, 2025, we're not in 2026 yet, but in 2025, we have now 22 million people who have taken advantage of this plan. Now, back in 2021, then President Joe Biden introduced a number of subsidies under the American Rescue Plan. But a lot of those subsidies included improvements to make the ACA plans more affordable and accessible. And these are the types of credits and subsidies that are at risk for being terminated at the end of this year. Now, it is no secret the GOP did not like the ACA plan back in 2010. And even in President Trump's first term, he attempted to repeal the ACA, but then Senator John McCain put the kibosh on that with his famous thumbs down. But it's no secret that many in the Republican Party have wanted to get rid of Obamacare for quite some time. The question is, and the question has always been, what will they replace it with for the American people so that they will not lose coverage? Will they replace it with something that addresses many of the issues that made the ACA unattractive to begin with? Or are these credits just going to come to an end and 22 million individuals are going to be stuck either paying more money for their insurance or losing coverage altogether? That's the crux of the matter right now. And unfortunately, I wish I had a crystal ball and could tell you which way this is going to go, but I don't. So I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is that it is very important that something is done so that more individuals do not end up losing medical insurance. I know many individuals, I have family members that are on the ACA, some who have chronic health conditions, and they're very concerned about what's happening or the lack thereof of what's happening. And in the news with everything, with inflation, we can feel it in the groceries, we can see it, with the increase in rent, increase in mortgages. Inflation is a real thing. It is my hope that something is going to be done to finally address putting something in place that gives many working Americans the option to have health insurance that they can rely on and get access to services. On top of all of the Medicaid cuts that we are looking at, we can very well see like a huge number of the American population uninsured a year from now. I truly hope that that's not the case, but we're going to have to stay tuned. But that's the crux of the matter. That's what's on the line here with the ACA. And hopefully, even if the ACA gets replaced, my hope is that it gets replaced with something that makes sense and still addresses the needs of the American people. Of course, I will definitely continue to follow this issue and provide updates as they are made, and I'll be sure to share them with our YouTube followers. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them below, and we'll be sure to review them and get back to you. Peace out.